ESPN Unsportsmanlike had the Browns as the fourth worst roster in the NFL. Evan Cohen, one of the guys from Unsportsmanlike, talked about some of the Browns' moves this offseason.
I think the Cleveland Browns have actually done so many things that if they were wearing a different uniform, we'd consider it really smart. Think about this for a second. You have the owner of a team saying, I'm not a football person anymore, because I do believe that he made the Deshaun Watson decision, and thus I'm going to allow for the general manager and the coach to make decisions because they're football people. In addition, I think there are smart moves. They doubled down on Myles Garrett. That's smart. Double down by way of money, as well as we're going to bring in Mason Graham to play next to you from Michigan, who's only going to help you. They doubled down.
So you thought that was the right move?
Here we go. Here's why. Here's why. They doubled down on Myles Garrett two ways. They doubled down on next year's draft, which is a quarterback draft, by getting their pick and the Jaguars' pick. They doubled down on the idea of doubling their chances of finding a diamond in the rough with two mid-round quarterbacks. One of them who slipped there in Shedeur Sanders, the other Dylan Gabriel. I think if the Cleveland Browns were wearing a different uniform and we had no preconceived negative notions about them, we would actually look at a lot of their decisions as intelligent this offseason.
You know, Fred, the thing that set all that up was they were the fourth worst roster. The Dolphins were above them, and then they went with three others that were worse than them. I think they're closer to the middle of the road. And I think what people are basing it on is the offensive line, they're all 30. Some of them may show signs of age. I think some of them are going to actually rebound and play pretty well. And if you have strong offensive line, and I think their defensive line is going to be elite, you can win some games in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it several times, is that those first 7 games last year, they had horrific quarterback play, and they were 1-6, and the season was over. They would have just scored, 20 points in all those games. They would have won 3 or 4, and instead of the season being over, they could have made a run. But I think everybody knew that when the season was over, when you're 1-6, and the defense played very well that first 7 games, but then it started to fall off with attrition. So I do think that the start matters, but I do think that the team's not as good as they were 11-6, but not as bad as 3-14. I kind of tend to agree with you that I see them more in the middle of the pack. I think the defense can really be good if they can withstand, like I just talked about, the injuries. They can't withstand too many injuries, but that defensive line should be much better. I mean, I'm seeing Kevin Stefanski talk today that they can't even practice because when Garrett's out there, because he gets a sack on every play, and he gets upset when Stefanski doesn't call sack and lets the play keep going. But Mason Graham, is penetrating. This Carson Schlesinger, he's all over the field. I think that they can have a really good defense, and that can keep them in games. The problem last year was when they were keeping them in the games, the offense never did anything, and they lost, 6 of their first 7, and it kind of set the tone. Season was over.